All right, welcome. So this is Modern Math, Unit 1, Section 3, Fractions, Addition and Subtracting. Okay, so a fraction is part of a whole. For example, a pie, if you only have half of a pie, that would be a fraction, 1/2. The top number is called the numerator. So this is the numerator. For here would be a 3. And the denominator is on the bottom. We call that the denominator. Okay, there's 3 types of fractions. There's a proper fraction, where the numerator, the top, is smaller than the bottom. And there's an improper fraction, where the numerator is higher or larger than the denominator. And then there's a mixed fraction, where we have a whole number, and then we also have a fraction. All right, in this unit, all of our answers will be written in either proper or improper fractions. Okay, sometimes we'll have a problem where we start with a mixed fraction, but your answer will always finish in a proper or improper fraction. All right, addition and subtraction. Okay, so there's 4 steps. First is to mix or to convert a mixed fraction to an improper fraction. So for example here, we have this 3 and a 4th. Okay, the best way to get rid of or to make it an improper fraction would be to take that 3 and a 4th, and what we're going to do is we're going to use this denominator. We're going to multiply it by 4/4, because 4/4 is just 1. But then we multiply straight across. That would end up giving us 12/4. And you can see that 12/4 is the same as 3. So we just basically changed 3 to 12/4. Oops, sorry. And then we're going to add that to the 4th that we already have. So that would end up giving us 13/4. Okay? So what we're going to add is we're going to add the 1/2, and we're going to add that to the 13/4. Okay, but we need to, the next step is to find a common denominator. Okay, so we have one denominator that is a 4, the other is a 2. Okay, so what can we multiply 2 by to make it be 4? That would be 2. We could multiply the denominator by 2, but if we do that, we also need to multiply the numerator by that. So that would give us 2/4 plus 13/4. Add those together, would get 15/4. Okay? So, like I said, you can do that on your calculator. Would probably, depending on the type of calculator, let me see. Both of the ones that I have, the Casios, there's a button where you can just make a fraction and then put the numbers in. Okay, so all you'd do is push that button, you'd end up putting 1/2, and then you would add that to 3, and then you'd do another fraction where you need to multiply by, And like I said, maybe I didn't tell you that, but if you need help with your calculators, just let me know, okay? I can't really show it on here, but on your calculator to make a fraction, it looks something like this, like an empty spot and something on that. You click on that and you'll end up adding or putting in this information, 1/2, and then you'll click plus, and then you'll need to add 3 to that. And then when we write 3 and a 4th, really what we're doing is 3, and we're adding that to a 4th. So we'd need to kind of put it like that in our calculator to be able to make that work. I mean, and it depends probably on what calculator you have. Okay? So when you do that and put it in your calculator, it ends up getting 15/4, which is the same thing. Okay? So this one, we'll do the next one. We need to have a common denominator. So we have a 3 and we have a 4. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite these down here. So we have 2/3, and we want to add that to a 3/4. Okay, just so that's easier to work it. But either way you do it is fine. Okay, so we want to have a common denominator. The best way to probably do this is we're going to take this numerator here for this 3, and we're going to multiply it by 3, like that. And then we're going to take this 4, and we're going to multiply 4/4. So as you notice, 4/4 and 3/3 is just 1, so it doesn't change your answer at all. Okay, but now when we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across. So here we'd get 2 times 4 is 8/12. And we're going to add that to 9/12. Okay, so what is 9 plus 8? So this is the same thing as 8/12 plus 9/12. Okay, that would end up giving you 17/12. Okay, or you can do this on your calculator again. You'd use that same button, enter your information, and you would get the same answer. Okay? All right, so for C, if we want to do that on a calculator, we'd enter 3 plus 2/3 minus 2 plus, actually we probably should have that in a parenthesis. Sorry, I don't usually do this with my calculator, so I'm just trying to think of make sure I'm doing this the right way. Okay? You need to have a parenthesis because you're subtracting the 2, and you're also subtracting the 1/9. Okay? All right. I know some calculators do have a spot where you can put your whole number and your fraction. So maybe look into that if yours has that. If not, you'd probably need to do what I'm doing. Okay? All right. So, but I'm going to do this by hand now. So, so here we have a denominator of 3. So we'd want to multiply this 3 by 3/3. So 3 times 3/3, that gives us oh, I really like this. Okay, never mind. Let's try another way to do this. Okay, sorry, I was just looking at another way to do this. So one way that they did it is they just multiply the denominator by that number. That gives us 9, and then we're going to add that to the 2. Okay, so that would end up giving us 9 plus 2 gives us 11/3. I really like that. Okay, so like this one, for what we did for A, we'd multiply 4 times 3 and then added it to 1. It gives us 13. Okay, I like that. Okay, so, and the same thing with 9, we multiply the 9 by 2, gives us 18. And then we multiply, or add 18 plus 1, gives us 19. So we have this negative 19/9. All right, so again, we need to have a common denominator. So here we would perhaps, what can we make this be equal to 9? Well, we'd multiply it by 3. And we need to do it by top and bottom. So that would give us 33/9 minus 19/9. Okay? And then all we need to do is subtract the numerators. And that would give us 14/9. Okay? All right. Next one, we have 3 fractions. So basically, you're just going to do 2 at a time, and then you'll add the next one. Okay, so for example, we don't have a mixed fraction. Okay, so all we need to have is a common denominator. That's our next step, is common denominator. So we have a 12, a 3, and a 4. So what can we do to 4 to make it be 12? Well, we could multiply it by 3, top and bottom. And what can we multiply 3 by to give us 12? Well, we could multiply 4 top and bottom. Okay, so if we did that, here we'd get 3/12. So 3 over 12 minus 8 over 12 plus 7 over 12. All right? So whenever we add or subtract, we have the same denominator. We just need to evaluate the top. Okay? So 3 minus 8, what's 3 minus 8? Well, that gives us a negative 5. And now we're going to add a 7, and that gives us a positive 2. Okay? And we can simplify, so that we're finally, I think this is the first time we need to use step 4, is simplify when possible. So we can simplify that to get 1/6. Okay? And I mean how we do that, just in case, is we can divide 2 by 2 and 12 by 2. That would be the greatest common factor for those two. So we just divide top and bottom by 2, and that gives us 1/6. All right? So in class, we're going to talk about where are the cookies. Okay? So this is kind of, this makes you think. All right? So I'm not sure if I want to have this on here on my video. Yeah, I think I'll save that for you to give that a shot. When you do that, or if you have any questions, come and talk to me, or you can talk to your neighbor, because this in class we're going to have the students figure out, discover how this happened and what was the original amount of cookies. But I'll talk over it with you. So Emily has a plate of cookies on the counter in the morning. We don't know how many she had when she started, but we do know that Russell walked by before lunch and decided to take 1/3 of those cookies. All right. Later that afternoon, Brindley came and ate 1/4 of the remaining cookies. So not 1/4 of how much was already taken. So for example, if we had this let's just cut it into 1 cookie. So we have this 1 cookie, and Russell took off 1/3 of it. And then from what's left, this part, Brindley took 1/4 of that. So now this is what's left. And from there, Sydney ate half. So we're going to cut that into half. Okay. And the next morning, Emily found 6 cookies left. Okay. So how many cookies were on the tray when Emily first left it on the counter? Okay, so you're going to go and try and figure this out. You can guess and check, or you can kind of go backwards. I think that's probably a good way to do, is start with 6 and see what you'd need to get back. All right, so go over these things and do your best. Talk to me about it afterwards. And make sure you do it, because you have to turn this in on test day. All right.